I don't know if you're like me. Probably are. Everybody needs to eat. But I really appreciate the recipes that have been handed down to me from my mom and from Grandma Wirt. There are several recipes that I consider gems that have been handed down. I was going to tell you about three of them, and I believe they're all three. I know for sure two of them are definitely from Grandma Wirt, and I think the third one is too. The first one is her pie crust recipe, which I have used since I was a teenager. I love it. It never fails. It always comes out tasting really good. It has vinegar in it, and even though you're not supposed to roll pie crust more than once, you can roll this pie crust more than once and still have good pies. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. Usually what you do with the leftover pie crust is make pinwheels, and I think that's probably something that Grandma Wirt taught Mom, and Mom taught me. The nice thing about pinwheels is when you are making a pie for company or even for your family to eat after supper, the pinwheels, you can eat those right away. They're just a nice little treat after for the baker and for the baker's family to indulge a little bit before the pie. The another recipe is chicken and noodles. I think that's probably from Grandma Wirt. I remember her making chicken and noodles, and I got the recipe from Mom, and I just assume it's from Grandma Wirt. I like to make chicken and noodles. I don't do it very often. It's kind of labor intensive, but I like to make it for comfort food. There have been occasions when I've made it for sick friends. When you need to take a meal over to a friend, it's kind of a soothing kind of dish to make. The third one is chocolate oatmeal drop cookies. I don't think the recipe possibly is that old, but I got the recipe directly from Grandma Wirt. So it really is a recipe she made. I tasted the cookies at her house there in Redfield. I loved them, and she gave me the recipes. So those are the three recipes that I think are pretty sure from Grandma Wirt. Then I wanted to also talk about my mom's recipes that I don't know if they're from Grandma Wirt, but the one recipe probably any of you who have grown up around my mom and visited her home, she makes fantastic bread. Her recipe is called refrigerator rolls. And they are to die for. They're really good. You can't eat just one. It's worse than Lay's potato chips. They're delicious. When I was growing up, I would watch Mom make things like the pie crust and the refrigerator rolls and the chicken and noodles. And even though I started watching her when I was a toddler, I what I'm trying to say is I didn't necessarily have her just stand by me and teach me, but I was observing her and learned how to do things. So later on, when I started to make my own dishes, the pie crusts and the chicken and noodles, I remembered how to do the method, how to trim the crust on the pie, how to flute the edges, how to cut the little holes in the top of the pie crust for steam. So I got that from Mom. I was wanting to say something about Aunt Edna. The very first time I made a pie, Aunt Edna happened to stop by after I had finished it. And I don't know where Mom was when I was making this pie, but I don't recall her being around. And so I didn't know any better than I thought I was rolling out the pie crust just right, but after it baked, I realized the crust was really thin. But Aunt Edna happened to stop by that day, and so she had the first taste of my first pie,